welcome back. Now it's the middle of January, so I'm starting to plant a few seeds. Now I've already planted a couple of sets of tomatoes. I've planted Alicante ones, which I've never done before, and also must stop something or other. Anyway, they're little bushed ones and they'll grow in pots or in baskets up against the hedge. So I've planted those. There's no need to show you how to do those because I've shown you before in a previous one. And I've also planted leeks as well. I've put those in a tray, but I've shown you those before. Now I've planted the tomatoes now because I'm going to grow the tomatoes, apart from the hanging basket ones, I'm going to grow all the tomatoes this year in the greenhouse. Last year I had blight resistant ones and it still didn't work. I went away on holiday, came back, and they all had blight, so I lost most of them. If you have your tomatoes in your garden, then they should be okay. It seems to be, if you have your tomatoes down in an allotment, if one person gets them, everybody else seems to get them. So I'm not taking any chances this year because I don't want all my hard work wasted. So this is why I'm planting them early, because they're going to be inside. If I was going to grow them outside, I'd have to plant them March to April, but because they're inside, it's January to March, so I thought I'd get those done now. What I'm going to show you next is some sweet peas. I have planted some sweet peas already. I planted those at the back end of last year, but these ones came a bit late, so I can plant them now at the beginning of this year. And there's beautiful purple ones there. They're called a king size navy blue, and some Wiltshire ripple, so I will have a look, and some orange dragon. So we'll give those a go. Now sweet peas, I love them. They're absolutely fantastic. They attract all sorts of pollinating insects, so they'll be great, one, to have in the garden because they look so beautiful, and also two, down the allotment I'll have them twisting up the bean poles so they can attract the insects and then they can pollinate the flowers for the beans. So I'll show you how to do those. Right, now I've got a seed tray here just with some normal compost. I'm not going to water this compost because it's quite cold and it is slightly damp anyway because it's squidging together, so they've got a little bit of water there to start with. So first of all I'm going to plant the Wiltshire ripple. I'll just show you how to plant one because they're all exactly the same. Now can you see them? They're quite big, these seeds. They just look like small peas really, a bit dried and shriveled. So we can actually place these at good intervals apart. If you find you end up getting a couple together, just move them apart and we'll just spread them all the way along the seed tray, and then we'll just cover them with a little bit of compost, and then we'll just put them in a bag. If the compost was dry, I would water it, but as it's a little bit wet and it's quite cold, not cold, but just a little bit chilly, and there is some liquid in there, I will leave it. But I'll put them in a plastic bag. Now these are ones that I planted last year. I did have a few in the garden, and when they'd finished flowering I just took off the little seed pod and dried it out, and then I planted them. Now these were all planted at the same time, but they're all slightly different varieties. These ones, they're ready now to have the top pinched out. When they get about 4 inches long, what you need to do, so they don't go all scraggly, is you need to just take out that tip, just the tiny little tip at the end, just pinch that out there. I will do it to all of them, and then it will encourage the growth from the side and they'll become more bushy. Now I've already done that with this one. I did it down there. Can you see? Right down there, I chopped it off down there, and it sent out another shoot from the side, and it's come all the way up, and it started to get its little tendrils on him here already. Now when you've pinched them out, and they need to be staked because they'll go all floppy. So I've just got a little pea stick here, so he's winding his way around the pea stick, and then when it warms up then I'll put him out in the garden. These ones, These are called cream Southbourne, and they seem to have taken quite a while to come through. As soon as you see them popping their little heads through, then you take the plastic bag off and then they'll be fine. Okay, so that's the 3 sort of stages, but I'll do the other ones and I'll come back to you in a minute. Now here, what I'm going to show you next are Aquilegias. They're lovely. I grew some last year and they were absolutely fantastic. Now this has come in a pack. There's 6 of them here. They're perennials, which means that they'll grow back year after year after year. So Aquilegias is very good. They're lovely. The ones I've got in the garden already are pink, but these are multicoloured. So we're going to do exactly the same as we've done with all the other ones. You get a seed tray, a little bit of compost, and then all we're going to do is just sprinkle them over the compost. Very, very tiny, oh they've all gone, very tiny seeds, minute. I don't even think you'd be able to see them. I'm finding difficulty here anyway. So we'll just make sure that we've got them all over the place. So we'll just give them a tiny little rub across like that. And then we'll put a very, very, because they're so small, we'll just put a very, very tiny amount of compost on top of them like that. And we'll put them in a bag as well. And as soon as they start to poke their little heads through, then we'll take them out of the bag. Aquilegias are fantastic. What we'll do when they start to come up and they need to be moved, we won't take individual ones because that's just far too fiddly. We'll take little clumps about 1 inch square, maybe a bit more. We'll just see when they're big enough, and we'll just put them in a 3-inch pot and let them get a little bit bigger. And when they've got a little bit bigger, then you just take them all out of that pot, that big clump that you've got there in that 3-inch pot, you just stick them in the ground and they'll just stay there and they'll gradually get bigger and bigger every year. Don't worry, they don't mind the frost, they don't mind the cold, they'll just die back. And then the ones I've got in the garden, they've got tiny little green shoots just starting to come up. So that's it for today. Next time, I'm not quite sure, but we'll be in February, so there'll be more things to be putting in then, more flowers and more vegetables. The mushrooms last year weren't very successful at all. In fact, they were absolutely useless. They didn't work at all. But I found a box in the local DIY store and I planted some and they've come up absolutely fantastic. So I'm trying to find another, it's a pack and everything's in there, and I'm trying to find another one and then I can show you, because oh, they're brilliant, they're lovely. Fresh mushrooms are absolutely superb. I've got a lovely little clump. So I'm trying to find another one of those and then I'll go through each step with you. So I hope to see you in February. Stay warm if you're out in the garden because it's very cold. Bye bye.